Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Push with Nick and KP. I'm KP, and today here we're going to be running through a SmackDown recap from this week's edition of the show. This was on the 13th of February, live from Dallas, Texas. We're on our way to the Elimination Chamber, and this is the next stop. So, first and foremost, we're going to be kicking things off here with this little bit of a recap with Tiffany Stratton. She would open the show after her victory in a triple threat matchup last week to qualify for the Elimination Chamber. She basically come down saying that, she's planning on winning the Elimination Chamber in order to get back the title that she lost 3 months ago to Jade Cargill. Tiff is interrupted quickly by Nia Jax and Last Legend. Tiff suggests that Nia found a replacement in Last Legend after, obviously, being aligned with Nia a couple of years ago was Tiffany. Last sort of rebutes that, basically saying how she wasn't really a replacement, but more of an upgrade. Lash highlights the tag title match, which is coming up later on in the show, which they're going to win, before then saying that Nia Jax is also going to then qualify for the Elimination Chamber match, which will be happening next week, her qualifier. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky then arrive down very quickly afterwards, basically with Rhea saying that because she's in the chamber, and that Io will be as well soon, nobody else stands the chance because they're going to team up together, take out the field, and then sort it out between the two of them afterwards. They then turn their attention to the tag title match, which is about to begin. So then we go pretty swiftly into that tag team title contest here. This sees Nia Jax and Last Legend taking on Rhea Ripley and Io Sky for those WWE Women's Tag Team titles. After a match that it got some "This Is Awesome" chants from the crowd. I'm not entirely certain I agree with the "This Is Awesome" chants. Thought it was maybe a little sloppy and a little bit sluggish at times. But it was a fine match. It was okay. The four women were in the ring and they sort of like did okay together. To be fair. Saw some different things in this one. Saw Rhea Ripley going for some more like luchadore some sort of style offense here, sort of like going around like doing like swing like Hurricane Ranas and satellite DDT attempts and things like that. Quite interesting with that. We don't really tend to see Rhea doing that normally. Maybe if it was somebody on a bit more experience level, rather than Last Legend here, maybe it would have worked a little bit better. But yeah, I'm not too certain. Not certain if it really shone. In terms of the match itself, it was fine. And then it got to the finish, which in my opinion was a bit poor. We see Io and Last Legend, who were basically the two legal superstars in the ring at the time. This comes after a pretty nice sequence, actually. There's a very close moment where it looks like Io's going to pin Nia Jax after hitting it over the moonsault. But it doesn't quite get the job done because Last Legend shoves Rhea Ripley into Io. The action spills to ringside, though. And we do have Lash and Io, who are both legal. They get counted out on the outside after having a bit of a brawl. And then Lash and Nia look to basically put Rhea Ripley through a table in the post-match shenanigans. Rhea Ripley escapes from that, though, and Nia actually is the one that gets sent through the table by Io Sky. She also takes a nasty spill going through this table, does Io. Lash immediately afterwards slams Rhea Ripley through the barricade, just towards like the timekeeper's area, and that leaves all four women out of it as the officials come down to check on everyone. So yeah, it is a bit of a crazy finish. Like I like the post-match situation. I thought that personally for me was better than the actual match itself. But yeah, the match was fine. It was okay. It wasn't bad, but like I felt like it was maybe a little bit sluggish and sloppy. I don't think it really deserved This Is Awesome chance. There was a nice moment towards the very end, like I said, with the over the moonsault and that situation there that sort of raised the tensions of the contest. But yeah, besides that, I thought it was a pretty standard okay match. But the main takeaway here from this one is that it was a double count out, and then we do have and still your women's tag team champions, Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. Going from champions to another champion, we would then have Carmelo Hayes hit the ring, and he would basically say that he's promised, he says that he's going to be keeping his promise here, and he's going to be keeping the prestige of the US Championship Open Challengers going. However, tonight, the Championship Open Challenge is closed. Melo says that as the champion, he's earned a spot at WrestleMania, and that next week he'll be qualifying for the Elimination Chamber. He goes on to that sort of closed opportunity here for the evening, basically saying that he has a promise that he needs to live out, and that would be for Ilya Dragunov. He would call him out literally moments later, and Ilya would come down basically immediately. Ilya does his entrance, gets into the ring, and is about to go basically face-to-face with Carmelo Hayes, and then we hear Solo Sikoa's music. He comes down with the rest of the MFTs, interrupting the situation, and Solo has a mic in his hand. Solo basically says that the line doesn't start with Ilya Dragunov because he's already lost twice to Carmelo Hayes as it is. Basically says that the line starts with himself being Solo Sikoa. Ilya actually questions the loyalty of his of Solo's family before then Solo says that Melo and Dragunov will get the same treatment as the Wyatts if they're not careful. Melo says he's up for having two titles instead of one, sort of hinting towards the tag team championships that are currently held by the MFTs. before Solo then gets onto the apron and orders the MFTs to attack. A brawl breaks out between Carmelo Hayes, Ilya Dragunov, and the MFTs. That brings down Matt Cardona and Apollo Crews after a bit of a backstage thing that they had with Carmelo earlier in the night. They come to the aid of Melo, and then we see that sort of not really helping them out too much because it's still a 5-on-4 disadvantage for them. Shinsuke Nakamura comes down to even out the odds. Then we have a 5 against 5. Naturally speaking, the faces do tend to overcome the odds in that situation. And then we do get them clearing the ring and the MFTs on the outside. Nick Aldis comes down, the general manager of SmackDown. He basically announces immediately there'll be a 10-man tag team match, MFTs versus the team of Matt Cardona, Apollo Crews, Shinsuke Nakamura, Ilya Dragunov, and Carmelo Hayes. So going into that matchup immediately then, because obviously that would be following up next, we would have those MFTs versus the group of guys that I just mentioned. And this one would be quite a fun matchup, actually. Everyone really got a chance to sort of have their say involved in this one. Obviously, there are 10 guys, so you got to have a bit of time for this one to really get something out of it. I think they had an okay amount of time. It could have been longer, sure, but it was enough to sort of highlight a bit of everybody involved here. We get to a situation in the end where Carmelo Hayes gets hit with a Samoan spike. That's sort of after he gets thrown from the top rope. He's sort of going up there looking for maybe a nothing but net. And he sort of gets thrown by the now legal Tama Tonga. So Solo was legal a couple of moments prior, but did actually get tagged in secretly by Tama. No one actually saw it, though, except for the referee, very conveniently. Ilya Dragunov hits Torpedo Moscow onto Solo after that Samoan spike, sending both men out of the ring. That then leaves Tama Tonga with, Melo just obviously receiving the effects of that Samoan spike moments earlier. He hits Cutthroat on Melo, and that'll be enough for him to pick up the victory in this match. So the MFTs get the victory here in this 5 versus 5, this 10-man tag. And after that, they don't really have too much time to celebrate because we do see the Wyatts appear up in the rafters, and they would basically just stare down the MFTs from all the way up in the gods of the crowd. So it doesn't look like the MFTs and the Wyatts are anywhere near done. Obviously, MFTs still have the lantern, so yeah, I guess until that really goes back to the Wyatts, you can assume this is obviously going to keep on going and moving along until that's eventually sort of solved and figured out. But yeah, for now, it is the team of the MFTs as the victors in this 10-man tag. So going from one half then to another, into our second half of Friday Night SmackDown, we will kick things off with a Elimination Chamber qualifying match for the women's division. This was the Alexa Bliss taking on Zelina Vega, and also Julia, the women's US champion. This one wasn't too bad. It was an okay triple threat matchup. I feel like there were a couple of cases in this one where it was quite high octane offense here, and I think there was a lot of on the spot sort of just working things out and just going with the flow. It wasn't a terrible match, but it wasn't also a spectacular contest. But it was a decent triple threat, and it did what it needs to do, I suppose you can say, in the end. We do see Zelina Vega, who's sort of alone in the ring. So she looks for Julia, who's currently on the outside, and sort of weighs up a dive. She bounces off the ropes, and as she's about to sort of go to make her dive, Alexa Bliss comes out of seemingly nowhere, hits a Sister Abigail DDT, and that'll be enough for Alexa to book her spot in the Elimination Chamber matchup. Charlotte Flair was on the outside of the ring here. She would say before the match began that she wanted to woo Alexa ahead of this Valentine's Day weekend. So, a little bit of a comical situation between her and Alexa that took place prior to this one. But the main takeaway is Alexa qualifies for the Elimination Chamber after putting away Zelina Vega, and obviously Julia does not qualify either. Coming up after that, we would have Trick Williams hit the ring ahead of his matchup one-on-one against Rey Fenix, rematch from a couple of minutes ago when Trick made his debut in singles competition on the main roster. Trick Williams has basically focused his attention mainly on Sami Zayn to begin with, saying that nobody wants to hear any more sub-stories or see him moping around SmackDown each and every single week. He addresses Rey Fenix pretty much after he's done sort of slamming down Sami, saying that he's oppressive, but people come to the show not to see him do flips, but they actually come to see Trick Williams. Rey Fenix comes out pretty much almost immediately after that, and we then get an upcoming matchup between the two of them that I mentioned moments ago. This matchup was probably my match of the night, to be fair. It was absolutely brilliant from both men. They put on a really great back and forth contest. It's kind of the scales sort of tipped in one way than the other. So Trick Williams started off the matchup really strong and promisingly. Had a really sort of very good performance here in the early stages. That sort of went through to the midway part. And then Rey Fenix eventually does get back into the conversation, and he sort of rallies for a long time as well. Sort of both men really taking it in turns here to go through their arsenals and have a really compelling contest. after a pretty close near fall from Rey Fenix, who hits a big sort of like a double stomp to the back of Trick Williams, who is on the second rope. Trick kicks out at 2 of that. We then see Rey Fenix looking to sort of like wrap this one up, but he's unable to do so, gets hit by a trick shot just out of absolutely nothing, really. And that gives Trick Williams the victory here over Rey Fenix. So back-to-back wins for Trick over Rey Fenix in their history. Trick's been solid since coming up to the main roster. The crowd were absolutely electric for him during his entrance. That Tricks were going crazy in the crowd. And yeah, he's not slowing down anytime soon as Trick Williams. It's a big victory for him here against Rey Fenix. Coming up next, we would have, for the first time in over 100 days, Jade Cargill putting her championship on the line. This would be a WWE Women's Championship contest. She would defend the title against Jordynne Grace. Both women in the ring, ready to go. And then before the match can officially get underway, we hear Liv Morgan's music of the Judgment Day. She would come down being accompanied by Raquel Rodriguez and Dirty Dominic Mysterio. And there's a strange situation on this one because this is the 13th of February, so Valentine's Day is the day after. But, however, we can still get romance in the air because Dominic Mysterio basically says that we got some things planned here. He asks some people to bring some things out into the arena, and yeah, some like basically this table gets set up on the ringside. It's got some roses on there. It's got some chicken nuggies. We've got some chocolates. There's some bubbly there as well. Yeah, there's a lot going on. It's basically sort of like a romantic date sort of thing. And as Liv Morgan says, it's like dinner and a show. So yeah, an opportunity for these two to basically just enjoy a date whilst having a performance of Jade Cargill versus Jordynne Grace in the background. There was a bit of a tension towards Liv and Dom at parts from, I guess, both women, more so from Jade. This one was an okay match, to be fair. It was two very powerful women really just like, having a bit of a battle here. They did a fine job of keeping it going, to be fair. It gets to a stage in the end where we do have Jordynne looking for beast mode, but Jade escapes and hits a pump kick instead on Jordynne Grace. Jade then lands Jaded in order to get the victory here and to retain her title. There's a bit of a face-to-face with herself and Liv on the aftermath of the contest. She basically warns Liv that, if you step to me at WrestleMania, what I just did to Jade, that will happen to you as well. So, yeah, message sent there from Jade Cargill to Liv Morgan, but a victory for her on her first defense of the WWE Championship. Going into our main event of the show, we would have the Men's Elimination Chamber qualifier for the evening. This would see Jacob Fatu, Sami Zayn, and Cody Rhodes all looking to book their spot in the Elimination Chamber match. After a pretty good triple threat for the most part here, I want to say a good like 75-80% of the contest, things seemingly are working well for Jacob Fatu at the time. That is the case until Drew McIntyre appears out of nowhere, claymoring Jacob Fatu, laying him out, having a bit of a fight with him on the outside of the ring, and then proceeds to powerbomb him through the announce table. So with Jacob Fatu taken out, obviously Cody and Sami the only two left in this one. Drew clearly not the biggest fan of either of these men, but probably less of a fan of Cody Rhodes than Sami. Drew decides to get back into the ring, hits Cody Rhodes with a claymore, and then would proceed to put Sami Zayn, literally drag him onto Cody Rhodes, and that would hopefully, in terms of Drew's mind, give Sami Zayn the victory. Drew just essentially just nonchalantly walks out of the ring and expects the referee to count to 3. The referee gets the 2, and Cody Rhodes kicks out at 2. So with that being the case, and Drew aware of the situation, he gets back into the ring. He focuses the attack on Cody once again, and is laying the beat down on Rhodes. That then sees Sami Zayn go back up to his feet, and he hits a haluva kick on Drew McIntyre, who's sort of in the corner at this point, knocks him down and out of the ring. And then we have Cody Rhodes getting back up to his feet. He hits a crossroads, and that would see Cody book his spot at the Elimination Chamber. Yeah, pretty predictable matchup, this one, in all honesty. Expected this one, to be fair, when it was announced last week. They can't have Golden Boy Cody Rhodes take a loss here, on the road to WrestleMania. The build between Drew, Jacob, and Cody doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. So naturally, one of those two had to win this matchup. I was kind of hoping it would have been Jacob Fatu, but yeah, nonetheless, they went with Cody Rhodes as expected and as per usual. So that's one of those things that we have to accept. So yeah, it was a fun match, to be fair. A decent main event. Drew McIntyre looked strong to begin with, but then looked a little bit of a fool by not being able to put away Cody Rhodes enough, I guess, in those closing stages. So I guess it comes with a double-edged sword. It makes sense logistically in a story sense, but in terms of, Drew McIntyre and sort of like what it does to him, I think it's a little bit shoddy for him, to be fair. It does make him look a little bit stupid because he could have put away Cody quite simply. Cody was down and out. He's absolutely, just second best at that point. And he could have really just done what he did to Jacob Fatu, to Cody. So, yeah, I'm not sure why they decided to make it look so obvious about that, but it is what it is. And Cody gets a win, goes to the Elimination Chamber in the end. As for this episode of SmackDown, honestly, it was okay. There were some good moments. The Trick and Rey Fenix match was probably the biggest, best, probably match of the night by far. All the other matches seemed to be pretty decent, to be fair. I think the main event was pretty good as well, to be fair, but it just, generally speaking, Trick and Rey just stood out from the rest, in my opinion. Not a bad episode of SmackDown. There was a lot going into the Elimination Chamber here, which you'd expect. And we do see some sort of things moving on in terms of rivalries, such as the MFTs and the Wyatts. That seemingly never-ending story. We had a couple of title defenses here. One of them ending in a count-out. Not ideal, but hellacious post-match situation afterwards. So yeah, there was a bits and bobs here and there. So it had its moments, but overall, maybe a little underwhelming, to be fair. I give this one a 7 out of 10. It could have been much better, but it could have been much worse. I will grantedly give it that. That then sees this episode of The Push all done and dusted, this SmackDown recap. If you guys enjoy this one, please let us know in the comments what you're thinking, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. We'd love to hear anything about this, whether you like it SmackDown, whether you think we can improve here. We'd love to hear any feedback that you guys have to give. Also, if you like this one, then please consider hitting a like on our video, subscribing to our channel, and keeping up with future content. We're always pumping stuff out because we're absolutely loving it right now. But without further ado, this has been The Push with Nick and KP. We'll see you on the next one. Take it easy and goodbye for now.